175,000 people in Las Vegas are now getting set for day 2 of the world's largest technology show. CES is happening this week all across the Las Vegas Strip. James Packard is leading our coverage there, combing through literally millions of square feet of exhibit space. James, I think it's fair to call you a bit of an aviation geek, so tell me what's drawing your attention in travel.
Yeah, you caught me, Lauren. We all know this story. You stand in the TSA line going through security, and sometimes there are folks who are a little slower than those who want to just breeze through security. TSA is exploring an option to do what amounts to like self-checkout at the grocery store, self-screen. You go into a booth, it helps guide you through what you need to take out of your pockets, if you need to take your belt off or your shoes off. While you're doing that, it's also scanning you. So it's like going through the scanner and putting your stuff through the x-ray machine all at the same time. It's in concept phase right now, and I asked Mara Wynn, who works for TSA, about the timeline on this. Here's what she said. What's your timeline here?
So right now, it's really in the early stages of development. We are really putting it out in industry. I'm very excited to see what industry comes back with, because that'll let us know where the maturity is in the market. I'm probably, really guessing it's not something that's going to turn out tomorrow, but hopefully in the, within this decade, we'll be able to see this happening.
So some jargon there, Lauren. In industry, they've sent it out to the engineers who can figure out how these designs can actually be put into the airports. But like she said, we could see it in the decade, Lauren. Pretty cool.
That is really cool. You noted travel, obviously, a big theme this year and one of your passions. Also, the first time ever an airline has headlined a keynote address. Delta CEO talked about free Wi-Fi on planes at speeds as fast as on the ground. Is that happening yet?
Well, not actively yet. It was a sort of promise, maybe a little pie in the sky, but it would be pretty cool if it can happen. Delta Airlines making a whole host of announcements today. They greeted everybody who went to that keynote with one of these guys. It is a blanket made from recycled plastics, and it was just one of the ways that they're trying to use some of this technology that we're seeing at CES this year to reduce their carbon footprint. They talked about some of the newer planes they have that are helping them do that, all Airbus, by the way, not Boeing, which has had a tough year and a half almost. They also talked about something really cool to make your experience at the airport and on the airplane more streamlined, using biometrics to scan you when you check in, help you go through security faster, get on the plane faster, personalized alerts on your phone to help you order a lift from your home to get yourself to the airport on time. If there's traffic or even a plane delay, it'll tell you that even when you're at home. Some pretty cool technological advances coming from Delta Airlines, and they got to be the first airline to give a keynote address at CES, and it happened this morning.
And another keynote did draw a bit of controversy. Ivanka Trump, senior advisor to President Trump, also his daughter, she was there to discuss the future of work. What more did she say?
Yeah, she talked a lot about the workforce and how it's changing and some of the Trump administration's priorities to change the workforce, integrating STEM education. She talked about the Ban the Box initiative as well. A lot of questions about why she was here, given that she doesn't have a direct connection to electronics. But she is an advisor to the president, and the CTA, the Consumer Technology Association, which puts on CES every year, told me that we need to have policymakers in this discussion to talk about how all this cool technology integrates into our day-to-day, and she's one of the most important voices there. She has the ear of the president, if anyone on planet Earth does, and so they say it's important for her to be part of this conversation, Lauren.
And there are some new sections at this year's show, from esports, a billion-dollar industry, to sexual health.
Yeah, some debate actually over the last year or so about whether this should be part of the show. Lindsay Thies explains some of the history here and what we're seeing this year at CES.
Sexual wellness is a growing business at CES 2020. This year, some 60 companies are displaying sex tech at the Consumer Showcase. The Consumer Technology Association is allowing tech-based sexual products so long as they can demonstrate products that are innovative and include new or emerging tech. As exhibitors Newsy Spoke With put it, it's not just about sex toys.
You're seeing more awareness of it. So for us, it's just the perfect time where CES is recognizing it, and we're leveraging technology in the form of stimulation, Bluetooth, remote control, to bring a whole different level of technology to the marketplace.
These aren't toys. These are robots. They are machines that are designed to help somebody understand more about their physiology and about their erogenous zones. This is something that we're very passionate about, is the education, because the more you know about your own body, the more empowered you are.
Last year, sexual products at CES made headlines when the CTA awarded, rescinded, and then finally restored an Innovator Award for a robotic device that uses biomimicry for sexual stimulation. Device maker Laura DiCarlo challenged the CTA when it first took back the award. DiCarlo said sexual health wasn't being fairly represented, especially among female consumers. After that, CES updated its policies to allow sex tech exhibitors in the health and wellness group and restored DiCarlo's award.
That brings us to today, where we have a show that we feel is far more inclusive, a little bit more healthy and open around the dialogue around sexual health and wellness.
And this year, CES appears to be more progressive and inclusive. CTA has partnered with a company called Female Quotient to launch a space to advance gender equality. CTA also has a new dress code that will penalize companies whose show floor outfits are sexually revealing or could be interpreted as undergarments. Some taboo topics are still off limits, however. Pornography, cannabis, and tobacco technology are still forbidden at CES.
So Lindsay Thies with us now. What has the conversation been like within CTA about whether to include sexual wellness this year and how?
Well, and really the response isn't even necessarily whether or not, but a lot of surprise that it is here. There are thousands and thousands of different exhibitors and products. Even today when we were out interviewing other exhibitors, not sexual health related at all, there was a lot of surprise that these exhibitors were here this year.
Yeah, with 4,500 exhibitors, hard to keep track of everything that's going on here. Mm-hmm. But they are setting up in really open spaces like what we're seeing here, which could be sort of controversial, maybe get some looks. How are they handling that?
It goes back to that education that Laura DiCarlo really talked about in the story, as well as the other exhibitors, that sexual health and sexual wellness is really just kind of about health and wellness. And like you said, these booths are right in the middle of all the other health and wellness exhibitors. They're not around a back corner or anything like that.
So the CTA doesn't want just any sex toy here on display at CES. They want to make sure that this is also integrated in the innovation part of this event.
Yes. So when we're talking about new and emerging technologies, that is really kind of the moniker that the exhibitors that are showcasing sex tech have to abide by. So if you're thinking of things like biomimicry, artificial intelligence, robotics, those are the types of technologies we're seeing in these devices.
And just like everything else at this show, there is some cool tech to see there.
It's fascinating, for sure.
Lindsay, thanks very much. You're going to be here the rest of the week reporting with us. We appreciate that. For now, Lauren, back to you in Chicago.
Thank you, James and Lindsay. We will be watching. Really appreciate it. Jealous of your assignments. After the break, we're following the developments out of Iraq. At least 2 bases housing U.S. troops have been targeted. The Pentagon is blaming Iran. Stick with us.
Now you can get honest, in-depth context on the stories that matter, wherever you are. Follow Newsy on Facebook and Twitter to get the day's top stories delivered directly to your news feed.
Jim and Joanne are here to pick up the same